Eagles Nation worldwide. Tonight is a night for celebration. We were able to shrug the dead weight of Jalen Reagor and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in the same offseason. We also were able to go out and get a quality safety to help shore up a still slightly questionable part of the team. So I just want everybody to understand we get it tonight. It's going to be lots of dialogue, lots of conversation. We are talking 53-man roster, major trades, breaking news, and everything else Eagles related. And we here all year round, baby. So let me go ahead and bring on my co-host.
Of course, as everybody knows, Wyatt from Squad Pod Sports and Cinema Trip Reviews. I am very excited to get into everything that's happened within the past week.
Man, this has been a major, and I mean major week. Just want to pull it down a little bit. Let y'all see that Eagles. We're going Eagles everywhere today. It's been crazy, man. We've made some wild moves. We've jettisoned some dead weight while managing to still be cap smart. And I got to give it to Howie. Not only can he come to the cookout, not only does he get a plate from the cookout now, I might even save him a bun for his hot dog. But before we get into all that, it's such a happy day. It's like a Eagles holiday almost.
Yeah.
But we need to remind everybody of one truth. What an appropriate way to start this exciting episode of the Eagles Elite Podcast.
Yes, sir.
So we talked about Wyatt. We know that our 53-man roster was set. And then we had this miraculous trade that Howie pulled off. But first, how about we discuss those guys who didn't make the roster and who so far is on our practice squad.
Okay, so you just want to roll down like the list of who we released and waived here?
Yeah, let's do that first. Let's start with that, yeah.
Okay, so on the list of released players, this was somewhat surprising. We kind of expected one of these guys to make it. Deon Cain, he was released. LaRaven Clark, who has been kind of off and on the roster here the past year or so.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got Anthony Harris there at safety, which was very surprising. We all thought he was a lock to be on the roster.
Yeah.
Then you got Richard Rodgers, Jaquiski Tart, who we also thought he was going to make the roster as well. Mm-hmm. And then you got Cameron Tom, the center there. I think he was like fourth string center.
Yeah.
Now the following players were waived. You got Devin Allen, Jack Anderson, Coyote Awasika. I'm probably butchering that name, man. Josh Blackwell, Kennedy Brooks, Andre Chicheri, Britton Covey, Christian Ellis, Mario Goodrich, Tay Godwin, John Hightower, Jason Huntley, Matt Leo, Reed Sinnett, which isn't surprising. That dude should have been gone maybe a couple weeks ago. Mac McCain, Jacoby Stevens, Carson Strong, who we didn't even really see much of at all. So they must have really not been sold on him at all. Noah Tagai, Kerry Vincent, Marvin Wilson, Renell Wren. And then like on the waived injured list, we got Kobe Smith and then Greg Ward, who was also released through like an injury designation, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was some people that you really, really kind of wanted, right, to make the roster.
Yeah.
Make it, it was a tough it's a tough cut for someone who's like a real fan of the team, because there's a lot of guys that you were hoping had a chance, and pretty much none of them made it. It's
no. Crazy. And I mean, we'll get to it, but they brought a handful of them back here on the practice squad, which they announced here today. But I mean, like, we kind of saw something coming there with, them releasing Anthony Harris. And then on top of that, they released Tart as well. So it's like, we were already kind of thin at safety. So something was up. Something was going on within the. Exactly. And sure enough, it did.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely pulled off a wonderful move, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But, guys like Richard Roberts, Jaquiski Tart, Greg Ward, those were guys that at least I feel like had a possibility to make the team.
Yeah.
The Anthony Harris thing was very shocking. But shout out to Mr. Harris, because he actually had scheduled to speak with some kids the day that the cuts were announced. So even though he was cut, he still went, talked to the kids, and he basically incorporated like, hey, sometimes things don't go the way you want them to. You don't give up. You just keep pushing through, like I'm going to be doing now that, I gotten, released for the team. So I want to shout him out, because it takes a special kind of guy, a guy that had an opportunity to be in our locker room to do what he did, right? You get cut by a team, it's still in the city. You kind of, that stings, man. I thought I had an opportunity to make the team. I was a starter last year, and I'm cut. That stings. But to have the professionalism and the, the ability to set that aside and go out and appreciate what these, kids were looking forward to you coming, and still go out and impart some knowledge and some positivity in them, man. That's a big shout out to Anthony Harris for that. And that's the kind of guy I would love to have in our locker room. I don't know if there's a possibility of bringing back. We know we now have an open roster spot.
Well, I mean, we'll get to that too, because there is more news to talk about with Anthony Harris as well.
Absolutely. So of all the players that we released or waived, is there anybody that you hope? I know you got the spoiler there, because you kind of got the people that made it, but without looking at that, anyone you hope that they bring back for the practice squad?
I mean, just looking at the list of players they waived, one of those wide receivers. I mean, especially with everything that's transpired, today, I would still like to have one of those three guys, Deon Cain, Devin Allen, or what's his name? It's escaping my mind now. Hightower, yeah. I mean, Hightower's been on and off the roster here for like 3 or 4 years now. So I mean, more so probably Deon Cain and Devin Allen, because they've really kind of stuck out during training camp here and through the preseason games, especially Deon Cain the past 2 games. So, I mean, those guys, and there's a couple other ones like more so like defensive depth wise, but I mean, some of these guys were, like you mentioned, Anthony Harris. I was very surprised with him getting released. I mean, it's not like he's been bad for the team at all. He's been very solid and a very solid place filler there. But Howie, it just seems like at this point they're not going all in, because we still have all these picks. But he's out here finessing other teams, getting other players, and it seems like they're just nonstop trying to improve this team to make it a contender and make a run at it here, either this year or going in the next couple years.
Yeah. So this is how I think Howie is feeling right now.
Acknowledge me.
Absolutely. I need to get the the Hurt season hat. I need to get one that says Howie season for the off seasons now at this point. Because
Yes.
I don't know what Lori said to him this off season or what, but man, it seems like they're just going all out to just nonstop improve this roster, make it as competitive as possible, and somehow keeping all these picks and that we have and managing the money the way he does. I don't know what got into Howie this offseason, man, but it's looking like, I don't want to say it because I don't want to jinx it or anything, but it seems like we're getting like late 2016, 2017 Howie, where he's just trying to build this roster, to be the best of its ability, not just kind of going, oh, here's a player here and there. He's actually going out and improving every asset of this roster, Yep. So Lori must have said something to him this offseason before they gave him that extension. So I don't know what he said, but it worked. Keep doing it, Jeff.
Yeah, it was a huge offseason for us, man. I mean, you took the last offseason, you had the whole situation with Carson Wentz, getting him out, figuring out what to do with all that. And it just felt like, things were just going crazy for a while and we weren't going in the right direction. We didn't know what we had with Hurts. We're really young at wide receiver.
Yeah.
And it just was a big concern. Then you look at this offseason, man, you even go back to moves like signing Zach Pascal. I mean, I've talked about that move several times. It's not necessary that he's going to come out and be one of the top 3 wide receivers. I think he had a chance at the very beginning for the slot, but Chris Watkins ripped that away real quick. But still being a depth guy and a guy that can bring a lot to the team, a veteran along with AJ Brown in the locker room. He's actually been in the league longer than AJ Brown as well. So it's exciting to me to just have that, right? It's just exciting to know that we have guys who want to play. We have an owner who's actually holding someone responsible for what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's just so different from how I felt last offseason and going into last season, that I don't even know what else to say, man. I just been so excited all day, man. I feel like there's a couple of moves I'm like, I wish we'd have did something different. But honestly, for the most part, I feel confident with what we've done, and I feel like it's all been the moves that we needed to make, even as far as the cuts go, because you can't keep everybody.
Yeah. Now to flip it around, is there anybody that you think we should have cut that made the roster?
So I was looking over it earlier. I really don't think there's anyone that would just jump out at me and say we should have cut that dude and we kept him.
Yeah.
I've said that in years past, but those guys are gone.
I was kind of thinking, man, especially after that, I didn't get to watch it because I was on vacation, but just kind of watching highlights and stuff. Man, Zech McPhearson isn't doing himself any favors out here, and Kevon Wallace as well. They looked absolutely abysmal in this game against the Dolphins. But I know that we just went in straight with the second team, third team, fourth team, whatever. But man, they were just getting beat no matter which way the ball was going, and it just did not look good for them here going forward.
Yeah, I think for them, I'm looking at it, I'm saying this is their second year. So if we don't see improvement throughout the season, I think they're going to find themselves right behind Ortega-Whiteside and Jalen Reagor out of here. So I think, you get the benefit of a little time.
Yeah.
But, you have to be ready because it only lasts so long.
Yeah. Yeah, as we've seen. And now it seems where we're used to seeing Howie just not wanting to give up on his failed draft picks. It seems like now they're cutting ties. They'll give him maybe these players a couple years, like you're saying, but now instead of waiting it, 4 years, however long, it seems like they're just willing to either trade them or cut them loose at this point. And that's probably for the best, And going back to what you're saying, how the roster was last year, rebuilding and going into this offseason, we thought this was going to be a multi-year process of building this roster up to make it competitive and compete for a Super Bowl. And we managed to possibly, maybe get very close to that here this offseason somehow. I don't know how he did it, but it seems like we should be making a deep playoff run here this season.
Yeah, we definitely should be making a run here. We should be winning our division. and we should be doing what we need to do. There's no I don't want to hear any conversation that doesn't at least have us as a co-favorite to win our division with the roster that we're putting out there. I get it that people want us to talk about Jalen Hurts and certain people. We should have kept this, we didn't keep this. I will say one person that I would have liked to have had, I'm not upset, but I would like to have kept Kennedy Brooks because I felt like he at least was close to that, like Keith said last week, bowling ball with feet. He was more of that type of back. And I feel like what we did keep was all kind of like the same kind of back almost.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Scott is a little bit more physical, but he's a diminutive player, so there's only so much he's going to be able to do. But I can't really, like, when I look through, I can't see anybody that I'm like, why did we keep that person? Like Reed Blankenship. I mean, I saw some people say something about that. Reed Blankenship played. There were times where he may have not been in position, but he hustled. And he's a guy that I would love to have to continue to grow and develop on the team versus a guy that, has been there a while and hasn't showed me anything more.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that move. Like I said, I would like to keep Harris, but I'm fine with what we've done so far. And like I said, we now have an open spot, so we'll talk about later maybe what we'll do with that as well. But man, just really excited that we're doing what we need to do, and I'm seeing the team be better. Even in the Miami game, right? Not to talk too much about that because we know that was not a good game for the Philadelphia Eagles. In any way, shape, or form. But the best thing about it was you saw heart, you saw grit, you saw guys that didn't have the same talent. Miami had their starters on the field playing against our backups. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to win the game. A lot of people are mad, like, we should have tried to beat Miami. Why? What would have had done us to put our starters on the field, possibly get somebody injured, pull a groin, someone gets hurt in a literally meaningless game for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
You put the guys out there, it helps you make the decisions between who's going to be the threes and who's going to get cut, who's going to be backups, who's going to get cut. And we saw that happen. Some guys that just didn't perform as they should have. Like you said, some of them made the roster, but a lot of those guys were gone. And what that says to me is I don't care who you are. If you're not playing up to par consistently, you're out of here.
Yeah.
That's what winners do. Just to be flat, 100% real. You want to be a winner in the NFL, you keep the best players.
Yeah.
You want to be a mediocre or a loser, you keep who you like, who you drafted because you want to prove yourself right.
And and that's what we were doing for a while.
A long time, honestly.
Yeah.
But whatever got into Howie, I hope it stays in him because he seems like a different GM this year. He seems reinvigorated, and that's exciting because if you don't have that piece in place right, and I didn't think he could be that piece again, but he's proving me wrong right now. Still wary, but he's making the right moves.
Of course.
He's making the right moves.
I mean, even no matter what he does, it's like what you mentioned, until he get like another Super Bowl or two, I'm still going to be a little skeptical of Howie at this point. But I mean, it's so crazy because, man, it's leaving Arlington fans in shambles right now. Their team is falling apart, people getting hurt, and they're not making any moves. They're bringing in 40-year-old Jason Peters for a workout today. It's like, good luck with that, man. Like, fans are out here on Twitter like, what are you guys doing? Do something. like retweeting all these Eagles moves and stuff.
Listen, man, when your move is to bring in Jason Peters, and Jason Peters is an all-time Eagles great.
Yeah.
Well, he's an all-time great, but he's nowhere near the player he was in his prime at this point.
No.
He's always going to be hurt. He's not going to make it through a lot of games without missing plays, being hurt. I mean, I just hate to say it, but he's at that point. He's 40 years old.
Yeah.
He's at that point where, if you're going to give him a check, of course he's going to take it. I don't fault him for that. But if that's your big move for the offseason or one of your major moves, there's trouble.
Yeah.
Trouble for you. That's all I can say.
But yeah, man, I'm very, especially this close to the season starting, we're like a week and a half away. Like, this is great news, and we all expected it. Some trades. Howie always tries to do some last minute trades before the season, and I mean, I mean, it looks like it's done so far, but you never know with Howie. I mean, there could be something up his sleeve here going into the season still. But like what you said, going off of the preseason, there's no sense playing anybody. Like you're saying, like for what? It's just a meaningless preseason game. And with a team that is pretty relatively healthy right now, this is the best spot you want to be in going into week 1. No reason to jeopardize that at all.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing what needs to be done. Like you're being smart. You spent your whole offseason talking about how you wanted to keep players safe. You didn't want to hit. You didn't want to do this. You didn't want to do that. That's fine. So don't come off it now. That's what you've been saying. That's what you've been showing. So do it. And that's what we're doing. And I'm happy about it. Like honestly, this is the best I felt. I didn't even feel this way in 2017. Because 2017 was kind of a shock to me, right? Like it happened.
Yeah.
But we didn't expect Carson to come out and be the player he was for that one stretch. And, we didn't expect for Alshon Jeffrey to play the way he did. Like so many things just fell into place.
Yeah.
That Jay Ajayi pickup was huge for us. But it just felt like, as the season went on, you kind of felt like it was a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm watching even the off season, like the preseason, I'm watching camp. It just seems like, man, guys are dialed in to another level. They're fighting together. They're fighting each other, but but together, right? They're not coming to blows with each other, but they jabbing at each other. They getting physical, but they're keeping it as that, sibling type of thing. So that's a big part too. I love Nick Sirianni, man. I was skeptical about some of the things he was doing, but I liked his thoughts the whole time, and now he's kind of spreading to the team. Quick funny story that according to how he helped change him around.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up about after the Tampa Bay game.
Yeah,
man, you can go ahead.
No. I don't want to take your shine. Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I don't want to take your
shine.
Oh
no, man. It's apparently according to Howie, because I watched it was right after the cuts and everything. They had their press conferences.
Mm-hmm.
Howie mentioned that after the flight home from that Tampa Bay loss in the playoffs here after the season. You know how it's like freezing cold here in PA. I'm sure it was snowy and rainy and stuff. How he immediately got to his car. He was saying he wasn't even waiting for it to defrost or anything. He was driving with his head out the window, just trying to get home. He was just in a terrible mood. And he gets a call from he calls Nick Sirianni, and Nick Sirianni is still at the airport apparently because Zech McPherson, his car broke down. And how he's like, well, we have equipment managers, we have player personnel, whatever. That could have stayed with him. He's like, well, he's here too. We just hanging out, and he's like, we're keeping him company, make sure he gets home safe, making sure he gets his ride fixed and everything. But how he said that's the kind of culture that he realized that's the culture that Sirianni has built within the organization here, and he saw something special in that, and he wanted to build off of it. So I mean, it's very encouraging to see that out of Sirianni, and it just seems like it's that kind of culture is contagious. It spreads within a building, and like you were saying, you see it from the players and the coaches down to just all the personnel that you maybe wouldn't see. But that is such a cool story, just after coming off of a playoff loss, getting beat that bad, and just a Sirianni to stick around just to help out his players, not even
a starter or a star player, right?
Exactly. I don't want to bring down Zech McPherson at all, but I mean, it's not even a star player or anything like that. So he's still stuck around. And what he said, Sirianni's that's my guy. I got to stick around for him. I got to do by my players. And it's man, that is awesome to see out of Sirianni. Cause of course you're going to get we've seen the t-shirts, we've seen the pandering, but to hear this story and to see how Sirianni has kind of grown and matured going into this year too with the Eagles. He's better at press conferences. It seems like he's being a little bit more concise with his answers. I don't know, man. It just seems like everything has kind of changed, and I'm very excited to see what happens with it, because everybody seems like they're dead set on one goal, and everybody is bought into that program that they've incorporated.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Now, I know we're going to talk about a couple of different things. I'll let you go ahead and give us the scoop here on who's been added to the practice squad so far.
Okay, so yeah, practice squad was announced today. A couple big names I mentioned that we expected to bring back. I'm actually surprised some of these guys didn't get claimed, because the Eagles were 19th on the waiver wire there. But we brought Devin Allen back. I was surprised he slipped down that far. I thought somebody would try to scoop him. But you got Coyote Awasika. I butchered it again, I'm sure. Kennedy Brooks, brought him back, running back. Dion Kane, Andre Chicheri, safety. LaRaven Clark, Britton Covey, wide receiver. Christian Ellis, Mario Goodrich, Anthony Harris, who we mentioned, Matt Leo, Reed Sinet. I don't know why we brought him back. Tight end Noah Togai, Cameron Tom, and Marvin Wilson. The biggest surprise is Anthony Harris, because this dude could have went out to any team and probably, I don't know if he would have got a starting spot, but he probably would definitely been picked up by somebody if he wanted to. But he chose to come back.
Yeah, that says a lot, man. Like I was saying earlier as well. It says a lot about him as a, as just as an individual, not just a, a player. Like, I want to be here. I'll go here and be on the practice squad. I mean, hopefully he gets called up and he gets played with us, and gets a chance to be a big part of the team this year, because I know he brings value. But I get it. You only kept 4 safeties, which is a little thin, but we did have to kind of chop some places to have the ability to keep people in other places. Line's important. We kept a lot of linemen, different things. So, it's just one of those things you have to do. But I'm happy for some of the people. I'm glad that we did see value and bring back some people that I think could be pieces in the future. I think Dion Kane has an opportunity to have a spot here, as well as Allen. And once he's just rough right now. Devin Allen's just rough. I mean, he hasn't played football in a year, so he's just relearning how to actually play. And I think once he gets some of that down, he'll at least have a role some weeks on that 53-man roster and have a chance to be an active player. So excited that those 2 pieces, as well as Anthony Harris, were brought back. Some of the other guys, happy for them as well, but those were the ones that stood out to me as guys that we definitely needed to have back on this team. Because at the end of the day, you got to have depth. We saw that in 2017. We've seen that in other years. You have to have depth. You can go grab people off the practice squad, people you can get off the cuts, whatever. You have to have the pieces to win. And that's all the way down the line.
I mean, in 2017, we're missing pieces on defense. We were missing like 2 or 3 players off the O-line as well, which, we're known for the O-line even back then. So it's like, that it's the most important thing is next man up. And we've been grateful to be able to have that kind of depth. I mean, even in some of these bad seasons, like even going into like 2018, even though we had like a playoff run, we were banged up then too in that playoff run, but we were still able to make it work. And I don't know what it was about those teams or what it was about Doug Peterson in December and January. But no matter how banged up we were, they were always making a nice run at the end of the season going into the playoffs. And then, of course, something would happen in the playoffs. But I don't know what it was, but Doug always had a nice, I think he was like undefeated in December for a couple seasons. But he would always finish those the seasons off strong.
Yeah. So, I look at it like this. Step 1, win your division. That's automatic playoffs. Step 2, win the playoff game. Then we see what happens from there. So, excuse me, I think we've at least put ourselves in the position to do step 1. Once we get step 1, we can always move to other steps. So I got to set the table. I can't wait too long. We got to talk about this. Got to set the table. Okay? So 2020, I'm watching the draft. I see Henry Ruggs come off the board, CeeDee Lamb, and others. I don't want to try to say everybody and miss somebody, but a lot of good receivers. I'm like, we've still got Justin Jefferson. This is who I want. Justin Jefferson. If Justin Jefferson falls to us, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going to be so happy. I know we're going to get that card up there in like 2.5 seconds. Done. Like, Justin Jefferson's going to be an Eagle, right? Justin Jefferson says in interviews himself, I saw a number call and I thought it was the Eagles, right? I'm expecting to be an Eagle. I'm checking, looking up, starting to look at places I might can stay in Philly, trying to get a flight to get to Philly, all that. We get to our pick. We're waiting.
Still on the board.
There. He's on the board. I'm just enjoying myself. Like, oh man, Justin Jefferson's on the board, bro. That's the dude. That's gonna be the best one out of all of them anyway. I'm good. We got the dude. All how we gotta do is make the right move. You don't have to overthink it. Just make the move.
Sure enough,
Just hand it in. I hear Ja, and I'm like, Justin Jefferson. Jalen Reagor, I'm like,
who?
For like 5 minutes, it's like my body was stuck. How in the world did this dude do that?
I don't understand it either.
In the world? You know what? This is the best way I could describe it. I was feeling at that moment. That very well describes how I was feeling at that moment. And then by the time the unbelievable shock wears off, I do hear Justin Jefferson's name called to the Minnesota Vikings.
Like the next pick.
The very next pick. So I lose out on what should have been a no-brainer receiver. Welcome, Mo, to the show.
Hey, Bo.
Per Mo's cue, always late. But
he arrived right on time.
But he did arrive. But Jalen Reagor was an Eagle, and Justin Jefferson was a Viking. This is not cool.
It was not. I was so mad. I was so pissed at the time, man. I couldn't believe it.
Beyond mad. I was ready to give up on Howie, the process, all of it. You know.
Bo was actually on the draft show with me, and yeah, our response was not our best moments to to that happen.
Yeah, so it had to be edited out. You know what the bleep.
It was not our proudest moments, but
now they're teammates.
From the ashes of that horrible, horrid, putrid, disgusting decision, it netted us Devontae Smith the next year because we have Justin Jefferson with a better team. We don't get Devontae Smith.
Right.
And also,
A.J. Brown.
If we had Justin Jefferson and we somehow got Devontae Smith, we definitely don't have A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
For me, I'll take A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith over Justin Jefferson and Nelson Trashalar 2.0.
Right.
So I'll lead that in to say, thank you, Howie Roseman. I haven't said this in a long time. Thank you for righting your wrong. Thank you for fixing a moment that made me almost cry tears of pain for what you did to me in 2020. I am scarred because of what you did. Okay? But you have fixed that situation. And for the performance and the quality of play that Jalen Reagor gave us, which was very subpar, you did pretty good in what you got back. So now that I've set the stage, I'm going to kick it over to Wyatt and let him give you the details. I just need to set the stage for you on how bad that was.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible. But, I mean, out of this deal, we sent Jalen Reagor to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for a 2023 7th-round pick and a 2024 conditional 4th-round pick that would de-escalate to a 5th-round pick if certain statistical marks were not met by Jalen Reagor. So pretty much, if you want to look at it here, we got more for Jalen Reagor than the Cowboys did for Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
How about that?
Somehow.
How about that?
And I'm going to tell you, of those two players, one's here, one's here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. And how weird is it that not only that, but we sent Jalen Reagor to the Vikings, you know, during that draft, and the Vikings took Justin Jefferson right after. And then we sent J.J. Arcega-Whiteside to the Seahawks when we could have got DK Metcalf at that point. So it's like, it's so weird how that worked out, you know. In a
how they both ended up on the teams. Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as they are no longer Philadelphia Eagles, that's what matters.
Yeah. We in the era of just, you know, we trimming all the fat off this team. If you ain't working, you out. Only winners get to stay on this team and compete. And they just didn't cut it, man. Jalen Reagor a little too soft for Philly.
Definitely too
Yeah.
soft.
But the
I
day
don't
has
even know.
come, and we got to rejoice.
Yeah. And I think him being soft has nothing to do with it because his hands are hard as bricks, apparently. Um, so I'm just glad it happened finally. I'm mad that it took all this time. It could have been done weeks ago, but for whatever reason, they kept him around. I think Cool made a good point to me, saying that we kind of had to keep him around, had to list him at a decent place on that depth chart to make sure he maintains trade value. Because if you
Yeah.
put them all the way at the bottom, nobody wants them. But I also think Minnesota might have felt like they owed us a little something. We're gonna help y'all out because y'all gave us a perennial all-star
For nothing.
Yeah, but like I told you that night, that next pick came in lickety quick, boy. They already
Yeah, it did. It's like,
So
we'll
I
help
think
you
maybe
out,
they
man.
felt
Don't worry
like
about it.
maybe they felt like they could help us out. Like, yeah, we know y'all messed that one up, so here we'll take them off your hands. It's gonna be interesting to see if he gets run. If he does, how effective he'll be. I mean, they still got Thielen over there. They got a decent tight end.
Yeah, he's in the
I
same
just don't
position
see him-
almost.
I don't see him going somewhere
It's
and
gonna
suddenly
be-
becoming this stud receiver.
It's gonna be interesting for you. For me,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be interested in what AJ Brown,
yeah.
Devontae Smith, Dallas Goddard.
Hey, it might
Several
only be
other
a couple
people.
of short weeks, and Rieger might be
Chris
just like
Watkins.
J-Jaw, unemployed, teamless. Okay.
So my thing is, man, I'm just happy that we got rid of him. And the funny part about it is, there was another trade
Yeah.
that we made.
Well, before we move on, I want to say I don't want to toot our own horn or anything, but it's kind of coincidence that he didn't make this this trade to get Reagor out of here until we started premiering the show and talking about it a little bit more. So I mean, maybe we could have had some influence on Howie's decision to get Reagor out of here because Mo's been on Reagor every week that he's on the show. Get him out of here. I mean, we always talk about it too, but it seems like once this show started getting up and running here, that's when we get rid of Reagor. So maybe we kind of have some influence. Howie may be watching the show a little bit here and there.
Possibly. Now, there's one thing to say about JJ Arcega-Whiteside and Jalen Reagor.
Cannot play with him. Cannot win with him. Cannot coach with him. Can't do it.
And we no longer have to.
Yes.
We
Can't
no
do it.
longer have to.
But yeah, man, like going off what you said, we had another huge trade, and like what we've been mentioning, we've been thinking about maybe possibly trading and getting another safety, and then boom, it happens. So hey, maybe we getting inside of Howie's head here.
Yeah, and it had to happen. They were definitely letting some safeties go earlier that day, so it was like, oh man, that was a relief to see.
Yeah, that's what we talked about a little earlier, man. Is like it was a little like weird. It was a little shady. I was like, something's going on here if we're dropping all these safeties.
Yeah.
But as everybody knows, we traded for CJ from the Saints. And this dude, just watching like highlights and everything, this dude's gonna fit right in with Philly. He's gonna be smack talking the opposing offense all game, getting inside their heads. And I mean, he's young still. He's 24, I think. They can move him around within that defense and within that secondary. He's going to be very valuable. And I mean, I'm sure we're going to end up paying him too, because this is a contract year for him. But I mean, this is another strong young player we're bringing into the team that could be around here for a while.
And speaking of
like you say, he's definitely going to fit in.
Speaking of safeties from New Orleans, the last safety we got from New Orleans worked out really well. If this one works out anywhere near that level, you're not going to get a chance to go back, buddy, because you're going to be wearing midnight Kelly green and white and black your whole career. Believe that.
Yeah, because we scooped Malcolm toward like the back half of his career, but he was still playing he was in his prime. I don't think he missed a game whenever he was playing here in Philly. But yeah, I'm hoping it goes as well as that move did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this kid is cocky, but he backs it up. I love it. He'll like you said, he'll definitely fit right in Philly. cocky, a little bit of a bully in him. Yeah.
Snatching dudes' mouthpieces while
Yeah.
he's like talking
Bully.
trash. Getting in Tom Brady's face. It's hilarious.
Yes, sir. He can do that all day. I don't mind one bit. Get the flag and everything.
We don't want the flag smoke. We don't want
Yeah, he needs like I feel like he may have a better chance. Like he's better at reeling it back when he needs to, unlike Derek Barnett.
Right.
That's only have an hour, so
It's all him.
because that could go a whole hour by
Yeah.
itself. But yeah, man, this is just. I mean, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. For those of you who may not have heard, you may be living under a rock.
Yeah.
He's now a Philadelphia Eagle, versatile cornerback and safety combo player. We're going to put him at safety. But if we need be, he can play corner. He knows the techniques. He knows the positions. He has the skills to do that. So you're getting a corner playing safety almost. And that is invaluable in the kind of offense that we're going to, defense that we're going to run. The offenses that we see, they are going to be, like I said earlier, in a little bit of trouble. Trouble. When they're trying to dissect this defense. This defense, man, is
it's
the
so
best
deep
part.
right now.
We gave up a 5th rounder and a 6th rounder and got back a 7th rounder for Gardner-Johnson.
Bro, why do these Saints keep doing this to themselves? They just letting us fleece them at every turn.
Well, you know what the problem is? They can't pay people.
It's just like, I guess we'll let them go.
They're still paying Drew Brees. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have money. Like, I mean, in their system, in their team, he's like what, 4th or 5th in the defensive backs.
Yeah, probably.
Not on our
team. They're
team,
very deep on defense.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, so we're not going to pay him. The more we wait this out, they probably felt like they would get less, or at least Howie was probably convincing them they would get less, and they made the deal. But here's the thing I wanted to point out. I actually had a graphic, but I couldn't find where I put it. We got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, right? We gave up a 5th and a 6th. We got rid of Jalen Reagor, and we got back a 5th. Because I'm going to say 5th. I mean, I know it's a conditional 4th, but I'm going to say 5th because I don't believe he's going to meet whatever it is. So I think we're going to get a 5th round pick. And then a 7th rounder back for Gardner-Johnson as well. So essentially we got Gardner-Johnson, a 5th and 2 7ths, and we gave up Jalen Reagor, a 5th and a 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a total win all the way around.
I mean, you can't do better than that when you have the guy that we have not been a fan of in forever, in Jalen Reagor. And I mean, honestly, he would have had to come out and have a good season last year. Not great, but really good season.
Yeah.
Because you were drafted as a top-tier receiver. And that, sir, you will never, and I mean ever be.
Live up to, in
the NFL.
Yeah, and it's very it's very exciting because not only do we have a very strong team with a lot of depth, but not only that, going into next year, we'll probably be able to bring most of these players back. And on top of that, you got 2 first rounders. You're going to have even more cap room to deal with. So you're just going to be bringing in, young studs or going out and getting even more top tier players off of free agency or whatnot to go make an even stronger push and a stronger run next year as well, especially if Jalen Hurts is that dude.
Yeah. So here's an interesting but I know we've got the actual roster we want to get to at least talk about for a few moments, but it's so much, man. So much. So I had a conversation with a fan of another team. Actually, fans of 2 teams. So we were talking, and they were saying like, oh, Jalen Reagor's ceiling is Michael Vick. So they said that. So I said, well, here's the problem with that statement and why it's completely inaccurate. No one can deny, even if you don't believe in Jalen Reagor, that he puts in the work. No one can deny he's first one in the film room, last one out in the weight room, when the strongest dudes on the team. Yes.
Hurts. Gotcha.
Yeah. And all of that. So that guy doing those things, you can't compare him to Mike Vick because Michael Vick and Jim Mora Jr. said he didn't study film his first 5 years in the league. He partied, had a good time, hung out with his bro coach, And that was it. And then went out there and played on Sunday. So
Yeah.
you want to compare a guy, and this is no knock to Michael Vick, because Michael Vick, extremely athletic guy, did really well for the amount of work that he put in. He had a Hall of Fame career for the amount of work that he actually put in to being a quarterback.
Yeah.
Especially early in his career. But Hurts puts in more work. So how can you compare Hurts to a guy that doesn't put in work and say this is ceiling? So they try to say it's ceiling with some other guys. I'm not even going to name them because it was just completely disrespectful. It was just trying to get a rise out of me. It didn't get a rise out of me because I shut those down. So they said, Donovan McNabb. So I said, yeah, I think his ceiling's better because I think he's going to progress with his accuracy better. I said, but here's the thing. This is what I want to bring up tonight. Here's the thing. Let's say for all arguments purposes, Jalen Hurts is no better of a quarterback than he was last year. Let's say all the stuff we saw in the offseason is fake. It's all BS. It's all made up from not being here and being in a controlled situation. Let's say Jalen Hurts has not gotten one iota better than he was last year. It doesn't matter. You have Devontae Smith. You have A.J. Brown. You have Dallas Goedert. You know what I'm saying? You've got Zach Pascal in the second unit. You've got guys around you that are going to make you look good if you can't throw but 3 routes.
Right.
Quez Watkins knows you like to lead the ball. You've had an offseason with him. If you haven't gotten any better, he's going to understand accuracy may not be the best thing, so he's just going to keep running. A.J. Brown can eliminate a lot of bad throws with his catch radius and his athletic ability, and we know what Devontae Smith can do. So the fact of the matter is, and Goddard as well, and others, so the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter if he's gotten better. As long as he hasn't regressed, he's going to have a better season because the talent around him is that much better.
Yeah.
So everybody who does not want to accept that Jalen Hurts is going to be a quarterback. I'm so happy he's gone. Jalen Hurts is going to be a quarterback. Understand this. As long as he doesn't get worse, he's going to put up 4,000 yards with what he has offensive with weapons. And he has gotten better. But I'm just saying, let's just argue that he hasn't gotten any better.
Yeah. Because we've seen QBs worse than Jalen Hurts win Super Bowls with amazing defenses or offenses around them. So I mean, you don't have to have that elite MVP caliber QB to go out and win it all. You just have to be serviceable. And I think, that's just saying if Jalen Hurts didn't progress at all, but I think he will. We've seen all the work that he puts in. I think Jalen Hurts is going to exceed this year our expectations. There's really not much because we've been covering it all off season, and we've said these things multiple times. But I don't see how he's not going to be better. Going out and training with, I think it was like Tom Brady's dude out there in LA over the off season, working on like the reads, reading the field, and just being in the facility, first one in, last one out, bonding with the players. I just don't see how he's not going to improve this off season. And as long as we're getting a margin of improvement, that's all you really need, man. That could be the difference between like 9 wins from last year to 12 wins this year, and then a deep playoff run. Who knows?
Yeah, I completely agree with Cool too. Like, it's like, even if he stays right here where he was, exactly where he was last year, the level of talent at the from these the guys around him just begs that he's going to have better numbers than he did last year. There's going to be less drop balls. There'll be more big plays, cleaner routes being run. Just all of that adds up to him. Even if, in his skill set, he hasn't improved, his numbers are going to be better just almost automatically. There's no way I can see any regression in his performance this year. Even if, he could come out and actually, like you were saying, if he somehow doesn't play up to the level he did last year, they still win more games than they did last year. They still put up more points. I'm excited to see it.
And the defense is significantly better as well, which I know Jalen doesn't have control over that, but that defense is going to be stopping the opposing teams even more. That gives them more chances as well. So if he didn't improve, or if he's, the same as he was last year, they'll be getting that ball back a little bit more. They're not getting points put up on them nearly as much. That's going to help as well.
And more momentum. It's about that momentum. That defense can create momentum for the offense.
Yeah.
And don't go for it on every fourth down.
I definitely agree with you there.
So to make a long story short, defense is going to be better. We know the offense is going to be better. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to be a playoff team and a contender this year.
Can you dig that sucker?
And that's what it is.
Yes, sir.
You heard it here.
NFC Championship game. That's calling it. NFC Championship game. You know?
Tell me he didn't just say that.
Because you know what I want to say. About to punch the ticket. I got it online.
As the weeks go by, you're getting closer and closer.
I'm
Just gonna build up. I can't do it anymore. Super Bowl.
Look, when we 6-7-0, I'm punching the daggone ticket, man.
See, then I wouldn't blame you if we like 8-0 or 9-0. I'll be right there with you. We
ticket,
it's Super Bowl, baby. We go.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to reveal what I have for them for that, but I do have something for them for that as well.
Oh, good. Always
I am ready for the Super Homer to come out. That is for sure.
I was feeling the same way like 2017 up until that Rams game, until it deflated all of our expectations at that point in time. I was like, we go to the Super Bowl, baby. And then everything happened with Carson. And I was like, oh, there it goes, out the window. And then sure enough, old Nick Foles comes and saved the day.
That was crazy.
A couple of games, then he saved the day.
Hey, as long as you save the day in the end, I could take a couple of
Yeah.
So I know we want to at least touch on the 53-man roster, which we kind of have with some of the things we talked about.
Yeah.
But we'll give a quick rundown here. And why I'm going to save you this time. I'm going to go ahead and do it so you can just relax. Comments. I'm going to handle this one. I got you. All right. So at quarterback, we kept Jalen Hurts and Gardner Minshew. No surprises there. Nothing to really talk about. Running back, we only ended up keeping 3. So when I heard that, I already knew who was gone. I knew who was staying. So that's Gainwell, Sanders, and Boston Scott.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, we kept 5. Now we got 4. Hopefully we'll have something to talk about with that next week. A little bit of breaking news. You heard it here first from Cool McCain. Something's going to happen. But A.J. Brown, Zach Pascal, Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins are left. Of course, Rager was traded. I just can't stop saying it. And tight end, we had Grant Calcaterra, Dallas Goedert, and Jack Stahl. So 3 guys I expected to be kept there.
Yep.
Offensive line, the terrible 10, Landon Dickerson, Andre Dillard, Jack Driscoll, Lane Johnson, Cam Jurgens, Jason Kelsey, Jordan Mailata, Sua Opeta, Isaac Samolo, and Josh Seals. Defensive line. So before I move on, any thoughts, gentlemen, on any of the people that we kept on offense?
Not really. I'm not very surprised by any of the people we kept on offense. Now that's not really pertaining to like the 53-man roster, but bit of breaking news today. Jason Kelsey returned to practice in pads after like a couple weeks after his surgery. This dude's already out here practicing, ready for game 1, bro.
So you know who we need to get ready, right?
Yeah.
Our own street clothes, Miles Sanders. Miles
still not practicing today.
Sanders. That's what we need to get ready.
They insist he's going to be ready for week 1. I don't know, man. The more he's not practicing, I'm very unsure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a questionable one. I'm not completely buying into that. So then
no surprise on the offense on who they kept. I'm just a little surprised at the depth at running back and receiver. It's just,
Yeah,
it's a little light in the pants on both of those, right? A little light.
Yeah.
All right, so defensive line. We actually kept 9 people there. So one of the reasons why we only had, 5 wide receivers and 3 running backs. So we had Derek Barnett, Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Brandon Graham, Javon Hargrave, Taron Jackson, Josh Sweat, Marlon Tupeludo, and Milton Williams. So, a lot of expected names. Some guys you may have fought to get on the end there, but, most of those names were expected. Now, another interesting thing, we kept 8 linebackers.
Yeah.
So we kept Sean Bradley, Nakobe Dean, TJ Edwards, Kyron Johnson, Patrick Johnson, Hassan Reddick, Davion Taylor, and Kaiser White. And one of the reasons I think that we kept as many people as we did is because Hassan Reddick's going to play some on defense as well. So he's going to be a movable piece. So I think we just wanted to make sure we had enough, when we do some of those exotic things with him. Cornerback, we
finally taking linebacker seriously now.
Exactly. Right. Much different from what we've had in the past. So cornerback, we had 6: James Bradbury, Josh Joby, Avante Maddox, Zach McPherson, Josiah Scott, and Big Play Slay. So, a lot of those names you can't really argue with. Joby was a guy expected to make the team.
Yeah.
They've loved him since they signed him as an undrafted free agent, so no surprise there. Some of the other guys that we, cut from that position, you played your best, but, it was going to be hard to crack the rotation.
Yeah.
Safety,
absolutely.
We had Reed Blankenship, Marcus Epps, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, CJ GJ, as he likes to be called, or we'll call him, and Kevon Wallace. Special teams, Jake Elliott, Rick Lovato, and Arian Sipos. And that's our initial 53-man roster. Obviously, it's 52 now, thanks to that wonderful trade by Howie to get rid of the bane of the wide receiver room.
Yeah, I believe we added a third. I don't know if you saw it, but we did add a third QB here this evening.
I did see that we added a third QB. I was not sure if he was going to go to the practice squad or not. I just know that we signed him.
On the list that I'm seeing on the 53-man roster, he's listed, so I'm not entirely sure. So it's Ian Book. He came from New Orleans as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did see that. I know we like to keep 3 quarterbacks in the past, but with how we have done on defense, I would rather have had that spot be open, to a skill player like a running back or a wide receiver. But
I agree.
If that's what they consider to do, or maybe they do it and then they end up putting him on the practice squad. But if they want to have 3 quarterbacks, then
that's kind of expecting them to escalate one of those wide receivers, to be honest, for the last spot, like Deion Kane, Devon Allen, or something like that.
Or go sign a running back with power.
Yeah, there you go.
Ball
trade for Kareem Hunt.
We still saw that when you looked at that roster, there's a certain individual that's on that roster at offensive line, and his name is Andre Dillard. So as long as he's around, there's a possibility.
Yeah, a lot of teams looking for an offensive lineman right now.
Yes, sir. So hopefully, and I do mean hopefully, we make something happen. Make a move with Andre Dillard. But even if we don't, I think that the turnaround has been tremendous this year. Right? Like I'm going into this season feeling like, don't you do it, Mo, feeling like we have a chance to have a deep run. And with our division first, again, it's levels, right? When you look from preseason to we're gonna make it to the championship game, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, you're missing all the things in between. We're a paper contender now, but we still got to do it in one place where it matters the most, and that's the field.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm ready to see. I'm ready to see us go out, not this coming Sunday, but the following Sunday, and start with Detroit and show people who we are.
Yeah. Yeah, my expectations are high for this season, man. Like I'm not gonna go as far as I'm just gonna say that we should be making a deep playoff run.
Yes.
But the only I have high expectations if we're somehow able to get another running back, like you're saying, get a bowling ball back or through a trade or just like a free agency pickup or something. then I'm gonna feel like 100% locked in. Like we have a complete team. Like that's the only we're solid at wide receiver. I just think, like you were saying, we need that missing piece at running back that'll help carry us through the season. And I think we're locked in. I think this team would be fantastic going through the season if you added a bowling ball back there. But I'm very excited. I mean, it's only a week and a half. Next week's gonna be the longest week ever, man. Getting into that game one.
Yeah.
And like Nick Sirianni said, is like they have no clue how to Detroit has no clue how we're going to be using CJ GJ on defense. So I mean that's going to keep them guessing. So hopefully we can go out and do some damage there on defense to start the season.
Yeah, it's going to be very important, I think, for that. That's what we're looking for. That defense can step up, man. It's going to be an exciting season. Mo, what you got for us? Latecomer.
Oh, what time? Oh, yeah. Shout outs, all that. Where they can find me?
Whatever you got for us.
Oh, yeah, I'm Mojo. Check me out. You can obviously catch me here on Wednesdays. You can catch me on Tuesdays at 7:30. Faces of Fantasy, 3 Faces of Fantasy. And then what we starting next week, the Matchup Madness. Check me and Cool out on Matchup Madness Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. 8:30. 9 o'clock. We'll be there. Don't worry, I'll be there. You can check me out on Instagram, Mojo, Facebook, Mojo. I'm everywhere. So keep an eye out. We got a lot coming up with these games getting started, the season coming out. We're ready.
And Wyatt, what about you, bro?
Yeah, man. Of course, you can find me on Twitter at Cinema Trip Views and Squad Pod Sports, and also on YouTube at Cinema Trip Views and Waveside Media.
You can find me, man, so many places. Shout out to the Empire Sports Network I'm now a part of. You can find me Play Callers Sports Talk Friday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As Mo alluded to, you can find me hosting on Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The NFL Matchup Madness that'll also be on playcallersportstalk.com. The NFC Beast will be starting the next Saturday. You'll be able to find that on a multitude of networks. You'll be able to find it on the Shady Sports Network, BS3 Network. You'll be able to find it on Playcallers, sportstalk.com, Sports Empire Network. You know, it's going to be very well distributed, so we say. So if you're not watching, it's not because you don't have the ability to, it's because you don't want to. And why would you not want to? You know, and more things coming, man. Just keep the eyes open, ears open. More things always coming. And before we finish, I have a message for the Detroit Lions. As always, you can catch us here next week. Be here. Be ready. Holla at your boys. Hashtag Fly Eagles Fly. Hashtag Philadelphia Eagles. Hashtag be elite. Why not be with the best? We elite. We're not better than anybody else, but we are elite.
Fly Eagles Fly.
Fly Eagles Fly, baby.
Holla at your boys next week.